Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Seeds and Weeds podcast brought to you by Small House Farm. Are you a gardener, an herbalist, a forager? Maybe you're just a little plant curious. You've come to the right place. This is Seeds and Weeds. Hey everybody, welcome back to the first episode of the fourth season of Seeds and Weeds. We're so excited to be here. We're so excited that you're here. We got another good one planned for you today. We're going to be digging into making herbal extracts. So we're going to be exploring all of the different ways that we could take the herbs that we grow, gather, purchase, however they come into our lives. We're going to take these herbs and we're going to craft them into wonderful healing medicines, delicious food, all the different ways that we can extract the flavors, colors, and medicinal benefits of these plants to make them, more wonderful to use. First, though, before we get too in depth with the herbal products, it's wintertime. We're in the studio. We're sipping tea. It's delicious. Heather, what are we drinking right now?
We are drinking an oolong.
Oolong tea. Okay, so now that's not an herbal blend. That is a type of Camellia sinensis, and it's really delicious. So I actually had to look it up. I found the package, and it's actually a Formosa oolong is what it's called. Now, Formosa is what they used to call Taiwan. So this is a tea that comes from Taiwan. This is where that they grow the leaves. It's also known as the champagne of tea.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know. It is pretty fancy. It's semi-oxidized, so it's partially fermented, which gives it this complex and interesting flavor. The flavor notes here say sweet peach, honey, floral, nutty, toasted, sometimes vegetal.
Yeah, I get the toasted.
I definitely get the toasted. I'm looking for that sweet peach. Maybe we'll find it as we're sipping on it. But anyways, delicious tea. I'm really loving it. And I just wanted to just share that with everybody just before we got started. Now, it is winter and it is the dormant season, but somehow we are still incredibly busy doing all these different things around here.
It never ends.
It never ends. What have you been up to?
Well, we're still processing things and kind of this is a great time for organizing and reorganizing and planning. So we've been doing a lot of that, not only with the herbs, but with the seeds and with our lives and with the business and all the things.
It's such a good opportunity to see what we have done or what needs to be done.
Definitely. So we're going to actually talk about 4 different extracts today. Water, fat, alcohol, and vinegar.
Let's start with water. I think that's the easiest, the most accessible, the one everybody's certainly familiar with. And we kind of already started talking about it, right? The most common water extract that we all know is tea, right? So brewing an herbal tea, that's a water infusion. So what we're doing here is we're utilizing the water to extract the water-soluble chemicals from the plant material. And this could be as simple as a cup of tea where we're going to use, just hot water and 3 to 5 minutes of steeping time. Bada bing, we got ourselves a nice, delicious cup of tea.
Or maybe you need a stronger medicinal infusion from the water extract and let your herb steep for 24 hours or overnight or multiple days. And then you take it as a stronger medicinal.
Absolutely. We're going to do that in the refrigerator. We're going to cap it. We're going to label it. We're going to put it in the fridge and let it get a really long, slow extraction. That's going to make something really potent. And when we think about a water infusion, of course, we're thinking about tea is what comes to mind. That was my first example here. But these water extractions don't even have to be beverages necessarily. These can be things that we use topically. We can make a wash or a rinse or, something for your hair or something topical for your skin.
Maybe you have a rash, an itch, a thing on your skin that you're not really sure where it came from, what it is, and how to get rid of it. So maybe you make a wash out of an herb or, you make a strong infusion out of an herb and then you wash your skin with it. A good example of an herb to use for that purpose might be rosemary, sage, thyme.
Those are going to be wonderful rinses for your hair as well. Wonderful for your scalp to bring some new shine to your hair. They're good for dandruff. And there's lots of different examples here. Most certainly, we can make a compress where you soak a rag with the water infusion and then you can wrap it around a wound or your rash or whatever it might be. So this is a wonderful way to do that. But let's take this idea of a water extract and let's take it back into the kitchen. So we can make a tea, but then we can take this water infusion and we can also maybe combine it with sugar or something and turn it into a syrup. We've talked about that quite a few times on here. We've shared a lot of different syrup recipes. Or we can take this tea and turn it into a jelly.
Ooh.
Right?
An herbal jelly.
An herbal jelly, sure. So my first exposure to something like this was years ago at the farmer's market when I got a jar of Queen Anne's lace jelly. And it was fantastic. Oh my gosh, it was like honey. But it was so simple to make. You would just take Queen Anne's lace flowers, brew them into a really strong tea, and then use that tea as the juice of a jelly recipe, right? And since then, I've seen that, in so many different ways we've done this. You could do this with dandelion flowers. One time I got a corn cob jelly. So somebody had taken corn cobs. I mean, the kernel's already off of it, just the corn cobs. Boil them in water, extract that flavor, turn it into jelly. Absolutely fantastic.
It's a great way to use some of your leftover stems even. Let's say, you peel back your lemon balm off the stems and you have those stems. Now you could take them, put them in the water, boil them into this, and it's still going to have so much flavor from that stem. You may not use the stem in cooking or teas for whatever reason, which really isn't even necessary, but we can then take that leftover and use it for this other purposes. Kind of like you see how people take apple peels and reuse them for jelly or jams or making your own apple cider vinegar. It's just, using those leftovers is so important, and then it really completes the cycle.
Yeah, that's a really cool idea. I love that. And that kind of makes me think about like a broth even. So we're taking all these vegetable scraps and onion peels and all these leftover things, and we're boiling them in water where it's a water extract is exactly what that is, but it's pulling all of those nutrients and colors and flavors and all that good stuff out of the plant, taking the waste material and turning it into something nourishing and delicious.
I actually just saw a reel that talked about this, that, especially with the way the prices of things right now and not wanting to waste any sort of food or, assets in your life, that it is a no-brainer to take every leftover vegetable and put it in a broth and constantly have broth on the stove. You're not using that onion butt or that celery butt, but you could be using it in your broth and still getting all the nutrients and minerals and good stuff out of it.
Absolutely. And then once we've extracted all the good stuff from the plant material, that leftover plant material, we'll recycle it in the compost and turn it into soil.
Yes.
Love it. Okay, let's move on to the next extraction method.
All right, we're going to talk about fat extraction.
So fat extraction, typically, I think we're going to be thinking about oil here, infusing herbs in oil to extract the fat-soluble chemicals from the plant material. And there's a couple of different ways that we could go about doing this. There's the more relaxed, long, slow
more
extraction.
Traditional folk method style.
Sure. We're going to take the dried herbs, we're going to put them in a jar, fill it up with oil, cap it, label it, put it somewhere cool and dark, let it sit for 4 to 6 weeks. It's a long, slow extraction process. Or sometimes we're in a hurry and we need the medicine faster than that. So we can use a quick method, which involves your slow cooker. Right. And then you can use that heat. You put the herbs, you could put them into a jar and then put the jar into like a water in the crock pot and warm the water up that way to slowly warm it. Or you could just put the herbs and oil right into the crock pot. Keep it on a low setting, of course, because you don't want to cook it by any means. But it's going to be a little bit faster of an extraction. We can make a decent herb infused oil in just a couple of days this way.
Yeah, typically 3 to 5 days, I think is what we say for that. So, you're going to kind of keep the crock pot on and off throughout those 3 to 5 days, but it's not going to heat it up so much that it's going to change the nutritional value of the oil in that sense.
Sure. And some herbs actually benefit from this technique. In Herbs in Every Season, I write about poplar buds. And, poplar buds are very resinous and sticky. And to get a good extraction from those, actually warming them up is going to help pull all that goodness out of that plant material. So it's actually, I think, a better way to make an extraction utilizing that heat. We could kind of compare it just to like how we make tea. We use hot water because it speeds up the extraction process. And then once we've got this herb infused oil, we can use it as is, right? We could just straight up use it topically. It's beautiful. You'll see that the oil has changed color. It's got the aromas of the plant material. It's really fantastic. But we could also make it into a product, right? So we got salves and lotions and balms and all these different things that we could make with this herb infused oil.
And this oil could be used in the medicinal topical sense, but it could also be used in a culinary sense too. You could consume the oil depending on what kind of herb you infused it with.
Sure. For a culinary oil, we don't even need nearly as much plant material. We don't need as long of an extraction time. Just a few sprigs of rosemary and a little bottle of oil. That's going to lend that delicious flavor to that oil that we can then utilize in salad dressings or however we want to use this oil. Yeah, absolutely right. But it's the same technique. It's the same method. It's the same science, but just less plant, less time, good flavor. You want something medicinal, more plant, more time. That's the only difference there, really. But when we think about extracting plant material in fat, it doesn't always have to be oil. What about something like butter or milk? The fat in these products will help extract chemicals from this plant material. So we can make a delicious herb butter, an herb infused butter, right? Or herb infused milk and do some really cool things with that.
Yeah, we can cook with it. We can bake with it. We can use it in the kitchen in any way we may use, butter or milk. I mean, maybe even just make a hot chocolate with an herb infused milk. That sounds fun.
Yeah, like peppermint or something would probably be really nice in that. In Herbs in Every Season, the recipe that we did, and I'm sure I've mentioned it here before because it was so awesome, is we infused rose petals in milk and then turned it into a buttercream frosting.
Yes, and it was so good. I've done it a couple times since then.
Yeah, it was totally awesome for sure. Now, when we're talking about an herb infused butter, this is different than a compound butter. Right now, a compound butter is when we'll soften that butter and we'll take plant material and we'll kind of fold it all in together. And so that you've got little bits of chives or little bits of basil or whatever in the butter. Delicious. Awesome. Different than what we're talking about here. Here, we're going to melt that butter and we're going to infuse it with the plant material to allow it to absorb all of that flavor and color. Then you strain the plant material out because all of that goodness is now pulled out of the plant and it's within the butter itself.
Very cool. All right. So now probably the most popular extract, at least is it our favorite? Either way, what about the alcohol extract?
Yeah, so this is certainly our most potent way to extract from plants. It's very, very strong. Now, while some things are water soluble and other things are fat soluble, almost everything in a plant is alcohol soluble, right? So these are very, very strong. If anyone listening, if you guys have ever purchased any of our tinctures or anything like that, you'll see that they're very small. They come in little 2-ounce bottles. They're measured by the drop, but we can make them in a very similar way to we would make these infused oils, right? We would just take our plant material and we would cover it with the alcohol and we'd cap it off and you let it steep. Here it's only about 2 to 4 weeks is all it really takes. It's a much faster extraction process because the alcohol is so strong here. 80 proof is good. 100 proof is probably better, depending on what you got. We use vodka just because it's less expensive. We make a lot of tinctures around here, but really any alcohol is going to work here for making a tincture. Some of our most popular ones, Heather, what are the ones that we probably sell the most of?
I think everybody's in need of either sleep or stress help. So we tend to sell hops, which works for both of those things. Valerian is really good for sleep, but lemon balm is one of our most popular. Good for anxiety, just kind of a general calming. It's good for digestion. But motherwort is another really popular one, which is good for women's hormonal health.
I've also noticed recently we've been selling a lot of holy basil tincture.
Yes.
I've been seeing those coming through quite a bit.
I mean, holy basil is it's a go-to herb for a lot of stress and anxiety and calming of the mind. So
yeah, anytime I turn on the news or get on Facebook or something, I'm like, oh, holy basil.
We were just processing some holy basil seed the other day, and to take that holy basil, the stems and whatnot from the leftover seed processing, and just put it in your face and smell it. It was the most, it was so good. It was so uplifting.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
But again, these examples that we're giving a lot of times when we're talking about these tinctures, the dosage is internal. We're going to, take it under the tongue sublingually, or we're going to dilute it in some tea or some water or whatever it might be. But we don't have to do that. These don't always have to be necessarily something that we're ingesting. We've got some other ways that we can use these topically. We've actually used catnip, alcohol extract of catnip as the base for an insect repellent spray, which has been very, very effective. So that's been really nice. Or maybe like thyme. The volatile oil in thyme is called thymol, and we can extract the thymol utilizing alcohol, and it's antiseptic, it's antimicrobial, it's antibacterial. This is fantastic stuff. If you've ever used a hand sanitizer that's not alcohol based, the active ingredient is thymol. And that's something that we're growing right in our gardens, right? So we can harness that and use it topically. Absolutely fantastic stuff.
And this is another great example of using the stems. You're not going to use the stems of thyme in your cooking. So you're going to strip those little leaves off, and then you're going to have all these stems. Put it in a jar with alcohol. It's a great way to make cleaner sprays, or, to add to these disinfecting qualities of that thyme in that way.
Absolutely right. Now let's bring it into the kitchen. And this is probably the example everybody knows, and they may not even realize that they know, of an alcohol extract in the kitchen, of course, is vanilla extract.
Yeah, definitely. So this is literally just vanilla beans sitting in alcohol.
I mean, what a flavor, what a color. And it only takes a few drops. Again, when you're using vanilla extract in the kitchen, because it is so potent and it is so strong, you're only going to use a few drops of that. 1/4 teaspoon is a lot. This reminds me of years ago, we used to be vendors at a lavender festival. And it's lavender everything at this thing, right? I mean, lavender ice cream, lavender soaps, lavender, and any way you can conceive lavender, this was happening at this event. It was really awesome. So we wanted to kind of fit in with that a little bit. So we're like, oh, we better bring something lavender.
So we made a lavender tincture. And at first, people kind of struggled to understand it. Now, a lavender tincture, just when you think about it, like all the other tinctures, could be used as a calming, just like anything that lavender normally stands for: calming, relaxing, soothing. But really, it could be used for baking the same way that this vanilla extract could. And I felt as though it was actually a stronger product if we took it at that angle. And people really started to see it and understand it more. You could do the same thing with peppermint, spearmint. Rose hips or rose petals definitely would bring the flavor forward.
Oh, absolutely. So the last extraction method that we're going to talk about today is vinegar. And this is one that you don't see people talk about quite as much, but I think it's incredibly beneficial. It's just as easy to make, and there's a lot of applications for a lot of different ways that we can use this. You could use any kind of vinegar that you want: apple cider vinegar, just the plain white vinegar, wine vinegar, whatever you have. It's going to make a little bit different flavor profiles, most certainly, but you can use any one of those. In this case, it's actually the acidity of the vinegar that's going to extract compounds from the plant material.
Yep. And a good example that you'll see in the commercial market is the fire cider. We've talked about that one a couple times in the podcast, but that is a vinegar infusion. So I just take an apple cider vinegar, put a bunch of herbs and plants and things in it, let it sit for a couple weeks, and that becomes this amazing herbal botanical tonic.
If you guys haven't seen it yet, Heather made a super awesome video on YouTube where she's making the fire cider and she shows all the ingredients. So I'll put a link to that, and then you could try to make your own fire cider. One of the great things about extracting with vinegar is its ability to pull minerals out of a plant. So if we're really trying to extract minerals in particular, vinegar is going to be our go-to choice here. So some great examples of herbs that have a high mineral content that we want to take advantage of would be stinging nettles is a wonderful one. Parsley would be another great choice, right? So by infusing these herbs in that vinegar, we can really pull all of that out of the plant and make it accessible to us. And then we could take this vinegar, we can do anything we want with it, right? We can make marinades with it. We could do salad dressings with it. If you're brave enough, you can do shots of vinegar. I recommend that to everybody. Give that a try sometime. It's a wonderful way to extract flavor. And if we're just looking maybe for something delicious, what about white pine? I love a nice white pine vinegar, or spruce. Take some spruce tips this coming spring, harvest some spruce tips, infuse them in vinegar. It's citrusy. It's piney. Oh my gosh, it's delicious.
Well, and that's one of the few things that we've mentioned on this episode that you could literally go outside right now and pick and put in a vinegar. That the pine is ready and would love to get picked.
It would love it so much. Now, all pine needles are edible, right? So you want to make sure that you're getting it from a pine, but all the pine needles are edible. So here we have white pine. That's the state tree here in Michigan. There are 5 needles in a cluster, so it's easy to identify. I actually prefer red pine. It's too big. Honkin needles. The reason I like it is just because of the size of the needles. I can harvest a lot more with less work, but they're very similar flavors. So whatever pine that you have, wherever you live, give it a try. It's going to be really nice. Now, not everybody's going to be brave enough to do shots of vinegar, I suppose. So as you're working up to being brave enough to try it, a way that you can utilize this vinegar is to make what's known as an oxymel. So an oxymel is made by taking the vinegar and honey, usually equal parts of each, and combining them together, which makes it far more palatable. You can put this in your tea. You can take a spoonful of it, whatever. Absolutely delicious. Or if you really feel really industrious, you can infuse some herbs in honey. You can infuse some herbs in vinegar. And now you can make all these different combos, all these different combinations of flavors with your herbal extracts. And well, that's fun and delicious.
Does an oxymel have a shorter shelf life, though, or should we keep it in the fridge?
I'm going to keep that in the refrigerator.
Yeah. And another great way to infuse, your vinegars and use them for your cleaning products, because I could take, a really strong, like we mentioned, thyme earlier, but sage is one of my favorites for cleaning with. Citrus peels.
Yeah, it's timely, really, if you think about it this time of year. This is January while we're recording this, and this is citrus fruit season. This is when a lot of those oranges and lemons are being harvested, and we're going to be bringing them home. We're going to be eating them. We want that vitamin C in the fruit. We're going to have a lot of peel left over. This is a great way to make use of that.
Using the peel for cleaning awesome way to reuse that.
Yep. So, I mean, we're making herbal extracts all these different ways from all these different plants. We got delicious jellies. We got tasty teas. We have got salves and lotions. We've got tinctures and extracts. We're making fire cider. So many different cool ways that we can use these plants in the kitchen, in the apothecary, for cleaning the house, whatever it might be. What a plethora of awesome ways to make use of plants.
Yeah, so go into your apothecary cupboard, see what you have available to use, try one of these methods, get excited, go explore.
Well, here we are at the end of yet another show together. Thanks so much to Heather for being a part of the fun, and thanks to all of you for tuning in and spending this time with us. 4 years, it is hard to believe we've been here together for this long. It has been fantastic. Remember, if you enjoy the podcast and you want to show your support, you can always join our community on Patreon. You can find a link to that and so much more on our website, which is seedsandweedspodcast.com. This episode was edited and produced by all of us here at Small House Farm, and the music we're enjoying right now is a fun, funky beat from Groza. Thanks again for hanging out, friends. I'm Bevan Cohen, and we'll see you next time.